Now we'll focus on how to draw fruit. And of course, there are many different types of fruit one can draw. I'm going to focus on an apple. And when I look at an apple, what I'm seeing initially is an oval type form. I'm using vine charcoal, and I'm going to first draw this basic form. Again, just an oval, just to get that initial shape in. And now I'm going to really focus on two things. I'm going to put in a circle right at the top where the apple core will at some point go. And now I'm going to focus a little more on the outside lines of the apple. It is oval shaped, but there are some more specific shapes going on. So I'm just going to look at each little area. I realize that this line here comes to a point slightly. Then it follows the oval, and then it comes in slightly. And then I'll look at the other side. Doesn't mean that both sides are the same exact. So as long as I'm really, really looking at the apple, I get all of my information, what it should look like. The bottom, as many apples do, has this little curve. And that's the shape of my apple. I'm going to take my eraser or my finger and just rub out that initial oval. And now I have the actual lines of the apple, which are slightly more detailed. If I want, I can take my eraser, just so that what's left over are these specific lines of the apple. Now, your apple that you're looking at will most likely look different than this apple. So although this is a base, you really want to focus on the apple that's in front of you and to really follow those lines. We're going to look at the core now. So I'm just going to shade out the circle that I drew. I can allow some of the shading to still shine through, but a lot of people will draw an apple like this. That's not necessarily an apple. What we're going to really look at is the exact shape of the apple core. So there's this little curve, and then it comes up almost like a straight line, but there's a little curve to it. The other side comes in and out, and then it meets at the top. I'm going to erase inside of this little core just because we don't want to see any lines coming through it. My last step is I'm going to just add a little bit of shading. So I'm going to use the side of the charcoal, and you can practice on the side of your paper. The side of the charcoal, rather than the tip, covers more surface area, and it's a very expressive way to move through your drawing. So I'm going to look at my apple and find the areas that are darker. For me, the right side of the apple has a lot of shadow. So I'm going to move through my apple using the side of my charcoal and blocking in the shading that I see. There are different areas that could still be shaded, maybe just a little lighter, and then areas that are shaded darker. So you can play with how hard you're pressing with your charcoal. If you want it to be darker, you'll press harder. If you want it to be shaded but just lighter, you'll press softer. I'm now going to use my fingers, and I'm really just going to start to move that charcoal around. I like to, when I'm shading, move my finger in a circular motion, especially with something like an apple, which is round. My circular motion when I'm shading will lend itself well to that shape. And I'm just going to start to add a little more detail. There's a nice shadow cast on the apple. I'm going to put just a little edge of a table in so it feels like the apple is sitting on something. And I'm going to bring in a really dark shadow, which for me, since the light is hitting the apple on the left, there's a shadow on the right side. Just for the sake of that drawing feeling a little more dramatic, I'm going to shade behind parts of the apple. I'm going to find where the lighter areas of the apple are, and behind it, I'm going to allow it to be dark. My last step is I'm going to take my eraser, a regular eraser from a pencil, and I'm going to erase into my apple to really bring out those lighter areas. So anywhere where the light is hitting, if you see a little bit of a highlight on your apple, you can bring in and use your eraser to just pull out some of those lighter areas. Now, most importantly, you really want to enjoy the process. A lot of people when drawing feel like they want to create a perfect drawing in about 2 minutes or less. It's not so realistic, and then it's not enjoyable. So you really want to give yourself the time and space to enjoy drawing whichever fruit you're drawing, and set aside some time so that the whole process can be relaxing and so you can really express yourself. I'm just adding some finishing touches, and soon my apple is finished.